Deadpool 3 has now received the most views for any movie trailer in the history of cinema. It's a tremendous win for the Walt Disney Company at a time that it needs it desperately. But what if we told you folks that out of all the movies that Disney has ever made in the last 10, 15, 20 years, and for all the movies going forward, Deadpool is unique because Deadpool was not approved by Bob Iger. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel. We're happy to have everybody out there. This is the place where we endeavor to explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve, and we only produce videos of excellence because it's all we know how to do. The mainstream media, they are just taking lessons one day at a time. Joining us today, we've got Lorena Creole, Tommy Tables, and Lauren Connor of ThatPartPlace.com. All of them all-stars, and we are so happy they are joining us today. Welcome all.
Welcome. Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Likewise.
Now, before we get into the trailer numbers, which are absolutely fantastic for Deadpool 3, I do want to bring up why Disney may not be happy. We're talking about Disney proper. We're talking about Bob Iger may not be happy with the direction of Deadpool, and specifically because it could damage or shine a light on the difference between this movie and the other movies that Marvel has attempted to make popular. We're talking about the MCU. Deadpool 3 writer insists that Disney isn't going to ruin the movie. There's two important things in this article that came out 2 years ago, this by Sam Bersanti, or at least everyone's operating under the assumption that Disney won't ruin it. I want to bring your attention, again, to two things. Let's take a look at this. First of all, this article, if you read it, and folks, we don't have time to go through the whole thing, but if you read the article, it brings up the understanding that Bob Chapek is the guy who brought this movie into being, not Bob Iger. And in fact, we believe this is the only movie on the slate of films that Disney will release that was ever greenlit under Bob Chapek during the tenure when he had actual control of the company, right? That's about a 4 to 6 month period when he's not under assault, when there's not a shadow campaign, etc. But take a look at this. Here's what it says about one of the major writers. It says, luckily, Rhett Reese, one of the writers on Deadpool 3, having co-written the other movies with Paul Wernick, is adamant that Disney isn't going to come in and make the movie Disney-fied. He shared that while speaking to the playlist, explaining that there are differences now, simply because the Disney people do things their way, and they're used to doing things our way, but everyone at Marvel Studios beyond that has been incredibly supportive. Now, what that's suggesting is that their way, the Disney way, that has resulted in failure, probably he's talking about this way they were doing things under Kevin Feige and Victoria Alonso. He's suggesting here that they did it a completely different way. And now this might be successful. Well, that's not the way that Bob Iger likes. That's not the way that Kevin Feige likes, even if they're willing to tolerate it to get Deadpool 3 or Deadpool and Wolverine now out into theaters, which will be a colossal success. But it will be antithetical to the way that they make films. And because it's antithetical to the way they make films, they'll have to take credit for it. But at the same time, it's not part and parcel of how they want to make films or how they plan to make films going forward. It's very interesting. This is another time. Think about it. We've had Avatar. We've had Spider-Man No Way Home. We've got Deadpool and Wolverine coming out. We could probably come up with some other examples where these movies that are made by Disney ostensibly are really made by super creatives who disagree wholeheartedly with how Disney is being run. And then those are the successes that Disney has. It's a very bizarre thing. All right, folks, let's get right to it. Here's the article, this one out of Variety. And it says, Deadpool 3 dethrones Spider-Man No Way Home as most viewed trailer launch with 365 million views. Now, let's remember that Spider-Man No Way Home was an awesome cinematic experience and an awesome cinematic achievement for the box office. A blockbuster 100%. Does this mean that Deadpool 3 is going to be such a thing? Well, it is limited in two ways. I know some disagree, but a late summer release is not as good as some other release dates. And also, in my estimation, being R-rated limits the movie. And again, I have said and I will say once more that I believe that Disney should consider releasing a second censored version, a PG-13 version of the movie that would play at the same time, not for artistic reasons, not because I'm a prude or because I'm the morality police, but simply because Disney and theaters need money, so make this available to as many as possible. Heck, I'll go with a G-rated. I just think it would last 5 minutes. Here's the article. Deadpool is slicing his way into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the record books. Wolverine also at that, and that might be part of what's going on. The first trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine, which debuted Sunday during the Super Bowl, has broken the record for the most viewed movie trailer within 24 hours with an astounding 365 million total views per Disney. And folks, the day after we told you that we were also looking at the metrics and we thought it was going to be in the hundreds of millions of views, that has come to pass. The previous record holder was the trailer for fellow Marvel movie Spider-Man No Way Home, which had 355.5 million online views in its first 24 hours back. Now, what I'd like to talk about as we dissect this, there's an interesting thing going on. So, panel, what's happening right now is that there are a number of people online, analysts, pundits, and just yokels out there, and they are all saying that the reason that this movie is doing well and taking off is because all that stuff about Marvel is on the ropes, Marvel's on the downhill, that none of that was true. They just had a few bad movies, pandemic, and all that. But Marvel's fine. They've always been fine. And I'm looking at this, and I see a correlation. I think the same thing that made Spider-Man No Way Home successful is making this movie successful. And I also see that behind Deadpool 3, it looks like we're going back to that same stuff that gave us the Phase 5 dive, the MCU, and all that other stuff that has sort of destroyed the Marvel brand. So, Lorena, let me go to you. What do you think is making Deadpool 3 so popular right now? And is it different than what comes behind it?
Well, I'll answer your second question first. Yes, it is different from what will come behind it. One, the reason why the Deadpool trailer basically has blown up the way that it is for two reasons. One, Ryan Reynolds' depiction of Deadpool. Deadpool is the most irreverent Marvel superhero that is out there. He breaks the fourth wall. He does it absolutely perfectly because that's attributed to Ryan Reynolds, and we really haven't seen that irreverent superhero type of thing, I want to say, since probably Deadpool 2. This other part is that Hugh Jackman is going to be in it. Not the fact that he's going to be Wolverine, which is true. Wolverine, but he's coming back in the 97 Wolverine outfit. And Wolverine in Deadpool 2, he's kind of been talked about, brief cameo, whatever. But now we actually get to see him. So I think audiences are very excited about that. You have, the wisecracking, smart-ass Deadpool contrasted with Wolverine, who is no nonsense, but he can also be a jackass too. So it's like one of those really cool, I want to say, not romances, but buddy movies that is going to be anything but. And the audience, we're looking forward to seeing what happens. At least I am.
I think that's the right assessment. Tommy and Lauren, either one of you take this one, but my curiosity is, why does Marvel not want to make more Deadpools? Why do they continue to languish with films? And by the way, coming up after this, we've got Thunderbolts without Thunderbolts. We've got Captain America without Captain America. Why does Disney continue to want to re-engineer the classic characters that people love? People will go watch the classic characters, and it doesn't matter about the ethnicity, the race, the gender, etc. They want authentic characters. I'm telling you right now, you put out a movie about Gambit and Rogue, and you make Rogue the lead, people will go watch it in droves. But they don't seem to want to do that. Can you gentlemen explain that to me?
Well, I'll start off first. Perhaps it's just basically the fact that they can't. I mean, what you're seeing here with Deadpool and with Wolverine, neither of those characters are in the MCU proper. They are very much like, there are a lot of parallels between this movie and with No Way Home, in the sense that
Yes.
you've got the sort of the setting of the MCU, but you've got these massive stars who carry these franchises coming back in an incredible new film. And this is what they should have done like 2 years ago. This is Marvel, instead of, kind of shooting people with their little pea shooter, this is them with like a missile launcher, right? And so I think, better late than never, but they could have done this a bit sooner. But to answer your question of why don't they want to keep doing this, they've killed everybody, right? Or like they've written them off. Like they don't have those characters anymore to be able to feature them in these spotlights. And yes, I know it's a multiverse, and yes, I know that if there are all these.
Tommy, they've still got She-Hulk. They could throw She-Hulk at us. Surely that would work.
I was going to tell Lorena. I was going to say to Lorena, like, the last irreverent character we had was She-Hulk, right? Yeah, that went well.
that went over just well.
That
really well.
Yeah, that was fourth wall breaking done very wrong.
Oh, Lauren, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead, Tommy. Finish your thought.
I was just going to say, and there's so much commentary now from people saying, well, everyone's saying that Deadpool is so funny and irreverent from this trailer, but She-Hulk was doing all of that. Like, why weren't you laughing at She-Hulk on the internet right now?
Well, because it wasn't humorous. It wasn't funny in the least. Off-putting. How about that?
I think there's another factor to this, though, and that has to do with how the Marvel movies are being made today, which is that you may bring in a big name to direct, but they don't really have control over the product. And in the case of Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds, that's not true. Deadpool has been very much directed by Ryan Reynolds. He knows this character. He knows how to bring it to the screen. And he's got a level of control that I don't think most directors do. And so if they want this, they have to kind of do what he wants. And I think that may make them a little bit uncomfortable.
Lauren, you bring up a great point, because in the last year, one of the only successes the Disney company had was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We gave that an 8 out of 10 here on this channel. And of course, that was brought to us via James Gunn, who is now their biggest competition coming forth out of DC. But James Gunn is not the kind of person who can be wrangled by Kevin Feige, because he's earned a pedigree. That means that Kevin Feige can't have him going through and scrapbooking everything. And Marvel tends to really control these directors and these writers such that what you get in the end is utterly corporate now. This seems to be something that is being manifested out of the mind of Ryan Reynolds. And so I would suggest that there's a couple of things here that Disney should take away as keys to winning in the future. One, being true to the source material and being true to the characters that you're bringing in, and stop trying to subvert the expectations of the audience and stop trying the mantle strategy. I think that's a winning formula. But also, two, handing off these properties to someone who is a creative genius. And yes, you're going to have to spend the money to get the creative genius. And yes, you're going to have to acquiesce to what they want to do. But enough of the Taika Waititi junk. Give it to people who care about these characters and really want to see them thrive. Give it to the people out there who they're not going to be interested in, 57 different versions of the film. And let's all sit down and pick out, this piece and this piece and this piece. And it'll tie into 12 other movies that we've got lined up and 15 Disney Plus shows. Oh, by the way, you've got to hand it off to very big personalities who have a proven track record. And there are not many people out there that have that. Ryan Reynolds is one. Hugh Jackman clearly loves Wolverine. If you're going to bring in Hugh Jackman for future films, and we believe they will, for maybe two more films, give Hugh Jackman some creative control over this. Let him have input. Don't put it in the hands of these wokester writers who are going to use these giant properties and dismiss the ROI in favor of propaganda. Don't do that. Panel, am I losing it right now? Have I gone off into loony world, or does all this make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. One of the criticisms that I have Hollywood of late, and there are many, is that you have this creation by committee. There isn't an organic we'll say artist creation. Like, there's a big difference between seeing how a film like the last Ant-Man movie, how that is, and then contrast that to the trailer for Deadpool. The audiences know that there's something organically creative about it, and compared to the corporate product that's been put out by Marvel, and audiences respond to that.
So let me throw this at you, Tommy, and bounce off Lorena as well. But I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, I think that they have to hit a home run with this, or else Marvel is no longer a premier brand. Like, I'm thinking that that's the level that is riding on this film, because if you think about it, they failed with the Marvels, they failed with movies before that, they failed in Disney Plus shows like Secret Invasion. It's been failure after failure. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the one standout. Now they're going to have Captain America coming up after this. Brave New World, we don't think is going to succeed. They've got Thunderbolts, not real excited about that. They've had to throw everything away, or they chose to throw everything away with the Jonathan Majors situation. Deadpool 3 is all they've got. If it doesn't come out and do bonkers at the box office, then Marvel is going to be sitting there stranded. And this, I mean, it's going to look bad if this movie's not good. Ryan Reynolds, I think, is going to make sure that it is. But what do you think, Tommy? Do they have to hit a grand slam here?
Oh, 100%. I mean, if they don't do this, they're done. They, like you said, Pro, they've had nothing but a slate of disasters, both on the big screen and on the small screen. And if for some reason Deadpool 3 ends up performing the same way that the most recent Mission Impossible movie does, that is going to be just a gigantic punch to the face. And I mean, right now, all signs are pointing to the fact that this movie is going to be a blockbuster, but you never know, right? Like, you never know what might happen. So, and I don't think
it's going to open big no matter what. That's for sure, Tommy. It's going to open big. It needs to be really good, though, for it to do well. We want it to do well.
And I think it will be, because of the points that you mentioned. It's business 101. It's managing 101. You step back and you let the people who are working for you do their thing. Like this, like Disney has had a problem with micromanaging, essentially, always looking over the shoulder, always making sure, always checking this, always checking that, and not letting their creatives actually be able to create, you know, like Lorena said. And so in this particular instance, you get the very strong sense that both Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman could basically say, you know what, I'm out of here at any given time and not care one single whit. So they are in the position of power in this relationship.
Right, they have the leverage.
Because of that, they have the leverage. And because of that, and because of the product, their track record of giving great products, like, you know, Hugh Jackman basically is Wolverine. You know, he's iconic in that role now, and Ryan Reynolds as well with the first two Deadpool movies. You have this implicit faith that they're going to be able to deliver something good. So
Hugh Jackman is so good in this role, Tommy, that he's one of the few actors that I think just de-age him. Like, just keep him going and de-age him, because whoever comes after him is going to be compared, and it's never going to work. So just keep him and keep going. Lauren, I want to toss this to you, though. When we're looking at Deadpool and we're looking at the box office it needs to get, I think it's got to make at least $700 million for it to be considered a success. Really, $800 million is going to be important. And that is because of the amounts the prior Deadpool films made, and then we adjust for inflation for the price of a movie ticket, and we say, okay, it at least needs to tread even with those prior films. $700 million will make that happen. It really needs to get up higher, though. So, Lauren, do you think that Deadpool is going to be something that can bridge the gap and get us through these less likely to succeed films and get us back to a more positive Marvel? And as you answer that, Lauren, so remember that question. I know I can go on and on and on and blather a bit, but I do want to say earlier in the video, I said that I want this to succeed, and I want to explain that briefly. The reason I want it to succeed is because media and Disney need a Northern Star. If there's nothing that works, they're never going to work towards what works. So we have to have something good for them to know what good is, because they don't know it clearly. Lauren, will this be the good that gets us through the bad?
No. And here's why.
No!
Here's why.
All right, explain, Lauren.
I think there's every possibility that it's going to be a good movie and that it's going to do good business. But Deadpool has kind of an advantage here in that, due to the nature of the character himself, because he's a fourth wall breaking kind of a character, he's somewhat apart from the MCU to start with. And that means that he can succeed, and that has nothing to do with the rest of the MCU. This only works if the stuff that comes after him also works. And there's no sign that that's going to happen. So I think there's every possibility that it'll be a good movie and that people will like it and it'll do very well. And it's not going to mean a thing. People will like that movie. They'll latch onto that movie. They'll put it in their collection, and whatever comes after it won't have anything.
You think it's rather standalone then, Lauren? You think it has a standalone effect rather than?
I think it lends itself to that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I see that.
Just like No Way Home.
So we would be remiss to finish this video without touching on the subject that I think many want. You all have seen the casting for Fantastic Four. Panel, any thoughts on that casting and what you think might be with that movie coming out of Marvel?
Uh, well, one, I think Pedro Pascal is overexposed, so that just kind of goes over my head. I still do not see him as Reed Richards, but he's Disney's it guy, so of course,
Well,
they're going
I
to
think that
pick
opens
him.
it opens the wound with Gina Carano again, doesn't it?
Very much so, because I look at him, and I usually have no problem separating the artist from whatever Save the Whales project, political opinions they have going on, because they usually don't have disdain for their audience. But Pedro Pascal obviously does for some of the fans who
Yeah,
think a different way than he does.
and it's
And
hard. It's hard to see him promoted into other major franchises and given all this money. And there's Gina, bunkered down, sheltering in place because of how Disney treated her. She had to shelter in place for a week. That's just insanity. And so, I don't hold personal animosity towards Pedro Pascal, but he said some things that I think were incendiary and mean and rude and cruel, and that seems to be rewarded. And that
yeah,
gets back into that same thing about, other people we've seen promoted at Disney that you just go, why? Why are you doing this? It's fascinating.
and
Pro.
it really is.
Gentlemen, any more thoughts on the casting here?
Well, I just got to say, I'm looking at that picture right now, the one that they released today, and I'm seeing Ben Grimm, the Thing. I'm seeing Johnny Storm. I'm seeing Sue Storm, and then I'm seeing Pedro Pascal. And this, I mean, there are a number of things that kind of concern me about this, but the one thing that concerns me the most about it is Pedro's character of Reed Richards. And I'll tell you why. It's because of the mustache. And that mustache symbolizes a lot. Reed Richards, I mean, now he's got a kind of a beard and whatnot, but the fact that they didn't make Pedro shave that mustache off, or he protested to shaving that mustache off, kind of signals to me that he's maybe not as committed to that character, I think, as someone else might be. And so,
Are you saying they're going to have to do some CGI work on the stash?
I hope not. But where
We're
I'm
going to have
going,
another Superman situation?
I just feel like we're going to have more of a Pedro Pascal than a Reed Richards in this film, if you know where I'm going with this. And that's kind of like a
John
red
Krasinski.
flag to me. Yeah.
I mean,
I do too.
I liked him in the role. Multiverse, who cares?
I like Jon
John
Gruffudd.
Krasinski.
I like the original guy. I thought he was great.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Well, folks, we've come to the end of another video of excellence. We hope we have kept you ahead of that culture curve. And yes, by and large, this is a positive video today for Disney. We gave them a positive one when it came to their stake in Epic Games and Fortnite. So there are positives, and that's better than last year. Last year, it was almost impossible to find a positive. This year, Disney's still skewing in the wrong direction, but there are some glimmers of hope. Boy, it makes it tough, though, when we get more leaked videos coming out of the C-suite that show us just what's going on, and that makes it tough. But we'll continue to parse it out, call balls and strikes fairly, honestly, because, folks, that's what you expect out of us. Lorena Creole has a tremendous YouTube channel, and you should be checking out if you care anything about the theme parks. Lorena, what do you have coming up soon?
Well, I have a live stream coming up on Saturday from the Magic Kingdom. It's President's Day weekend, so why don't we have some fun exploring Liberty Square and, yes, the Hall of Presidents. There is so much there besides the animatronics, and we're going to check that out Saturday at 10 a.m.
Wonderful, wonderful. Also, Tommy Tables and Lauren Connor, they're both part of our Genre Guys member-exclusive content. If you're not yet a member of the channel, for the price of a soda per month, you can check out their content where they and LW Ghost break down some of the most famous and most important films in history. And we also want to apologize. Lauren was not able to be on camera today due to technical difficulties. We know you all love Lauren. We'll have him back on real soon in the full flesh that is the man, the legend, the Lauren Connor. All right. It has come to an end now, except for one final thing. Folks, would you be so kind as to click like, share, subscribe? And when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. And tell us whether you are going to see Deadpool 3. All right, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Floral, it's time for you to walk the plank.
What? Why?
Cuz you haven't subscribed to WDW Pro yet. Nor bookmark thatparkplace.com on your web browser to get great articles from great contributors.
What?